or rather at my mother behind it, clapping my hands in glee, more cherries within easy reach. The expression on my chubby, cheeky face screams, "All these are for me!" Sharing is as unknown to me as algebra. Cherries have been uplifting ever since. Their appearance sudden, their season short, a fleeting treat to be seized at any opportunity, their rarity enhancing their appeal. 20 years after that photograph, I was lucky enough to be in the south of France with a friend, picking cherries from heavily laden boughs in a vast orchard. Despite the wicker basket on my arm, I mashed most of them straight into my mouth, drunk on their bloody juice and meaty flesh. Spheres of flavour both tart and sweet, impossible to tell which from their shiny, eat-me exterior. There may be more messy sensuality to a ripe mango or the sun-warmed velvet of a peach, but cherries remain my favourites, perhaps because of their miniature size, which makes them as covetable as gems. I keep that cherry snap of myself within my eyeline at my desk, a frozen frame of what uncomplicated, unadulterated joy looks like. It's a good reminder that sometimes all it takes is fresh fruit. The photograph was taken in the flat in St John's Wood where my parents lived when I was born. 5 years later, we moved south of the Thames to Wimbledon, a deliberate ploy of my mother's. She was keen to put some distance between herself and my father's business partner's family, whom she considered nosy and intervening. Determined to carve out a life of her own, she chose exile to a part of town where she knew no one, but could suit herself. With my father's business established and doing well, my parents bought a large 2-story brick home with a big garden and renovated extensively. Though I never liked the house, which had a gloomy atmosphere intensified by wood-panelled hallways and pelmeted curtains, it was undeniably comfortable and extravagantly spacious. A lot of shouting between floors went on to locate one another. My mother banged on the central heating radiators to summon us to dinner. It was only when I visited friends that I realised having 2 rooms plus their own bathroom was not usual for most children. One of the best things about our street was its proximity to Wimbledon Common and all its wildlife. In summer, my mother and I walked there to pick abundant blackberries. Woodpeckers, jays, robins and nuthatches visited our garden regularly, especially when my mother put out a bird feeder, as did hedgehogs, for which she left out sources of milk. On snowy mornings, there was nothing lovelier than to see a fox slink across our lawn to scavenge in our bins, its russet brush tail like a flame against the frozen whiteness. At Christmas, which was an entirely secular occasion celebrated only for my benefit, my parents exchanged gifts with the formality of court emissaries swapping ceremonial offerings. Hermès for him, Gucci for her, hardbacks for each. All the rest were for me. As soon as I woke up, I would lean over the banisters to survey the landing below piled high with parcels of all shapes and sizes. Sliding backwards down the carpeted stairs on my tummy, enjoying the friction of every tread, I landed in a sea of boxes and sat tearing away wrapping paper, surrounded by booty, while my parents looked on with the satisfaction of benefactors. Everything I wished for materialised. Large tins of Caran d'Ache colouring pencils, dolls in national costume to add to my extensive collection, new outfits for Cindy, I was never a Barbie fan, a subscription to my favourite nature magazine, Snow White ice skates, a tennis racket, an orange space hopper, a pogo stick my father almost bent out of shape with the sheer force of his bouncing, and those ugly little Moomin trolls whose hair I liked to comb out. There was no ambiguity as to the origins of this haul. I never put out a stocking for Father Christmas because my own father was more than able to satisfy my every desire and keen for me to know that he and no one else was the provider of all bounty. Birthdays were even more extravagant occasions of conspicuous consumption. Like a small Buddha, I was adorned with jewellery before I could even walk. As I teethed, I sucked on gold medallions and charms for comfort.